Dear students, welcome you all to the industrial pharmacy class. As you know, this is the second class of industrial pharmacy in this week, and overall lecture number is 24th, entitled as fire hazards. Recalling from the previous lectures in which we have studied about the chemical hazards, a little bit about the introduction and the different sources of the chemical hazard that occur in the pharmaceutical industry, as well as we have discussed in detail the OSHA guidelines and the safety aspect regarding the chemical hazard. Let's discuss the today's topic, that is fire hazard. That is one of the most prominent hazards in the pharmaceutical industry. The main focus of this topic is to learn about the fire hazard, introduction, sources, detection methods of fire hazard, and finally we will discuss in detail about the prevention of fire hazard. Dear students, after the completion of this lecture, you will be able to learn about the topics related to the fire hazard. First of all, I would like to tell you about the fire, that what is meant by fire. Basically, fire is the self-sustaining process of rapid oxidation of a fuel which produces heat and light. When a fuel that is exposed to radiation and it is self-sustaining process and it produces the heat and light, in this case we will term it as fire. Fire is basically an exothermic chemical reaction between oxygen and fuel at certain temperature. There are three things which are mandatory for the combustion of fire. If these three things are there at a certain temperature, the first one is fuel, any combustible material, that may be chemical, that may be wood or any other material acting as fuel. The second one is oxygen. Remember that at concentration about 23% in air plus saturation, that is about 23% of oxygen exists in the air, the situation becomes dangerous due to the increased fire hazard. The third one is temperature. These three are the important things for the combustion of fire. Sources of fire hazard. As you know that fire hazard will occur in the is required for the fire brigade in the pharmaceutical industries, and there are different sources of fire hazards including the solid fuel, liquid fuel and other sources. The solid fuel including the wood, fabrics, synthetic material, packing material, paper, etc. These are the solid type of the sources of fuel due to which the fire hazard occur in the pharmaceutical industry. The second one is liquid fuel, including the flammable liquid, for example nitrophenol, ammonium nitrate, potassium chlorate, cotton or cellulose soaked with sulfuric acid. These are some of the examples of the liquid fuel which acts as a source of fire hazard in the workplace. In this case, the workplace is pharmaceutical industry. Person working in that particular industry should be handled with care these liquid fuel. The other sources include flame, spark, self-combustible chemicals, and special precautions are labeled on the chemicals regarding their handling to ensure the safety in the pharmaceutical industry. Now we will discuss the classification of fires. Most fires that occur will fall into one or more of the following categories. The fire hazard occur in the pharmaceutical industry that may lie in one of the following main categories, including Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, and Class K type of the fire. In this session, we will discuss the different categories of fires which occur in the pharmaceutical industry or any other workplace. The first one is Class A fire. Fires involving ordinary combustible material such as paper, wood, and textile fiber, where a cooling, blanketing, or wetting extinguishing agent is needed. In case of Class A fire, which is due to the combustible material, for example the paper, wood, textile fiber, and in this case a cooling or blanket, using a blanket or wetting agent, that is a wetting extinguisher, wetting fire extinguisher. These are needed to control the Class A fire, which is due to ordinary combustible material. The second class of the fire, which is termed as Class B fire, that fires involving flammable liquids such as gasoline, oil-based paints, and greases. Extinguisher for this type of fire include carbon dioxide extinguisher and chemical extinguisher and halogenated types of extinguisher. Class B is due to the liquid that are flammable in nature, for example gasoline, oil-based paints, and greases. And how we will control this type of fire by using the extinguisher, and different varieties of extinguisher are used for this purpose. For example, carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, like chemical fire extinguisher, and halogenated type of fire extinguisher. The third class of fires, that is termed as Class C. In this category of fire, that is due to the energized electrical equipment which are used in the pharmaceutical industry. The different equipments are utilized, different processing conditions are testing are done by using electrical equipment, and Class C fire is due to the involvement of the energized electrical equipment where a non-conducting gaseous cleaning agent or smoothing agent is needed. The most common type of extinguisher for this category of fire, that is Class C fire, is a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. The fourth class of fire is named as Class D. That fire involving combustible metals, due to the combustible metals such as magnesium, sodium, potassium, which are ignited, and due to the combustible metal, the fire occur in the pharmaceutical industry. For this purpose, to control the Class D fire, special dry powder extinguishing agents or dry powder fire extinguishers are required for this class of fire and must be tailored to specific hazardous metals. The fifth class of fire is termed as class K, and this category of fire involving commercial cooking appliances with vegetable oils, animal oils, or fats at high temperature. A wet potassium acetate low pH based agent is used for controlling this category of fire. These are the 5 categories of the fire which we have discussed. Sources of relevant class of fire, and how to control these types of fire. Mostly the fire extinguisher are used, but in the class K, wet potassium acetate or low pH base agent is used for this class of fire, that is class K. In the pharmaceutical industry, there are different systems for detection of fire hazard. In this part of the lecture, we will discuss the detection of fire hazard, that how we will detect the fire hazard, and what are the different varieties of systems for detection of fire hazard. Many automatic fire detection systems are installed in the pharmaceutical industry nowadays. Some of these include thermal expansion detector, heat sensitive insulation, photoelectric files, ionization or radiation sensor, UV detector, that is ultraviolet detector, or IR detector. These equipments are detection systems, sound an alarm through which fire flames are detected. You can see in the figure the fire alarms which are installed, the places which are in risk, which are supposed to be in risk for fire hazard, and these are the fire alarms you can see on the left and right side figure, which are installed in the pharmaceutical industry to detect the fire hazard. In this part of the lecture, we will discuss the prevention of fire hazard, that how we will prevent fire hazard. If we have installed the different sensors or the fire alarming system for detection, and this type of hazard happen in the pharmaceutical industry, then how we will prevent the fire hazard. Basically, how we have to control this, it is fuel, heat and oxygen, that is the three mandatory parts for the fire hazard. First plan will be well planned design and layout. The layout and design of the pharmaceutical industry will be so much planned, such a way planned that there is a minimized risk of the fire hazard. And the second one is to properly ventilated system and the pharmaceutical industry in order to minimize the concentration of the oxygen, and the ventilation should be a proper system for the ventilation in the pharmaceutical industry in order to prevent the fire hazard. And most of the hazard that is the fire hazard is due to the different types of the chemicals which are utilized in the pharmaceutical industries, which are for the process of the analysis or the manufacturing of the different dosage form or the different processes. So chemical data sheets should be consulted and care should be taken when handling the chemicals. It not only reduce the chemical hazard but also the fire hazard which are at risk due to the use of the chemical. Data sheet should be provided and safety protocol should be followed, and proper screening of persons should be done, and personnel working in the area should be properly trained regarding the fire hazard if it happens, and how to control and how to provide safety, and how to prevent the fire hazard. Proper maintenance of surroundings should be done in order to reduce the risk of the fire hazard, and use of fire extinguishers should be installed at different places wherever necessary. Alarms and sensors and detectors are installed, and for this purpose if detectors or sensors are longer not installed, then the fire may be very much risky, not only for the property, for the chemicals, but also for the personnel working over there, because different chemicals are installed and different varieties of the chemicals which are very much risky. Proper use of fire extinguishers and on the time control is not done. Firefighting equipment should be also consulted, should be also kept, and sprinkler system should be there in order to avoid, or otherwise the firefighters should be consulted, and their consultancy and their number, contact number should be properly labeled over there, and in case of any emergency regarding the fire hazard, they should be contacted. Fire suppression, it is done by using hydrant system or water sprinkler system and fire extinguisher. Most of the hydrant systems, including water sprinklers, semi-automatic hydrant system, and the third one that is the automatic sprinkler, and the last one that is the fourth that is manual hydrant system. These are used for the fire suppression. The fire is suppressed in this using this system, either the hydrant system or water sprinkler system or fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher include different types of the fire extinguisher. They are installed in the pharmaceutical industry for controlling the fire hazard. The first one is water and water based extinguisher, and the subclasses in this section are having the water and water based extinguisher. First one is portable extinguisher, second one is soda acid extinguisher, and the third one is antifreeze extinguisher. And the second class of the fire extinguisher, it is termed as foam extinguisher, and the third class of the extinguisher used for the fire control, that is the dry chemical extinguisher. The dry powders are used in the this type of the extinguisher. You can see the sprinkler system figure on the left side, while on the right side you can see the powder fire extinguisher having the powder form of the chemical. It is for the controlling the fire hazard in the pharmaceutical industry. Now in this part we will discuss the dealing with the fire hazard, that how we will deal if the fire hazard happen in the pharmaceutical industry, and in this case what will be our standard operating procedure or the safety protocols. First of all, there is a certain area which should be kept as assembling area and open space, and in case of the fire hazard evacuate to the assembly area, and we will use a fire extinguisher. Operating a fire extinguisher, the following 4 steps are required while operating the fire extinguisher. The 4th step involving the pull the pin. There is a pin and the fire extinguisher which should be pulled. That is the first step while operating the fire extinguisher. The second one is aim extinguisher hose at the base of fire. Wherever the fire happens, this type of the hazard, then we should aim extinguisher hose at the base of fire to control the fire after the pulling the pin. And the third step will be squeeze the lever, and the fourth one is sweep from side to side to control the fire, suppress it. And these are the 4 steps which are to be exercised while operating the fire extinguisher. References you can consult this industrial hazard and safety management and pharmaceutical industry research article by the authors and published in the International Journal of Applied Research by 2020, and volume and issue pages number are also given. And similarly, in the lecture pharmacy, one of the journal, the paper entitled as Recent Trends and Hazards in the Pharmaceutical Industry and Safety Precautions by the authors given mentioned earlier. The start of the paper, and the volume is 69th, and it is published in 2014, and the pages numbers are also given. With a video that is related with the fire extinguisher and fire hazards. In the step 1, you have to keep that the fire extinguisher is there, and there is a first step in case of the fire hazard. We should get out the exit in case of emergency. Step 1, fire hazard occur. These steps, that is first of all you will pull the pin, you can see over there, and the fire extinguisher, and the second phase that I told you, that is A, and the third one, that is S. Remember that the 3, that is S, the 3S, PASS. Now we have to check that what is meant for the PASS that I have told you. First one, that is pull the pin, and the second one is aim extinguisher hose at the base of fire, and the third is SS, that is for the squeeze the lever, and the fourth step, that is the sweep from side to side. You can see this fire extinguisher training, any other video related to the fire safety that would happen in the pharmaceutical industry. The fire hazard by using the PASS. Already told you what is meant by P, that is pull the pin, the fire hazard occur. In this case shown as the fire hazard in the car happen, but we will consider that in the pharmaceutical industry. First of all, the fire hazard, the fire extinguisher should be taken, which are installed in the pharmaceutical industry. Inspection take up to date. It is to be checked at least once a month. And the first step, that is we have to needle must be in the green area. There you can see. We should check before any type of emergency. We should properly check. And maximum height is 60 inches and minimum height is 4 inches. It is stored in an area, suitable area, ready to be existed. in the videos. Sign says it is here. It should be. And we have to operate it in case of the fire hazard. First of all, we should do emergency exit. Keep exit behind you, and one of the gate that is declared as emergency gate or exit gate. And the first step is pull. The second one is aim. Pull the pin. Apply the temper seal, and it is not easily done. The second step is aim. We should focus this on the fire where it is the fire hazard occur, and we should squeeze in the third step. Material should be squeezed, and fourth one, that is the sweeping of the at that particular area, the squeezing, and that is again the sweeping. Another video related to fire extinguisher. The different types of the fire extinguisher. How fire extinguisher works and how to operate a fire extinguisher. Fuel, heat, and oxygen is there. I've already told you that the chances of the fire hazard occur. And oxygen is about 43%, and heat is over there, and fuel is tested. And you can see the extinguisher, that is the foam extinguisher. You can see on the screen. Powder extinguisher are also there. Carbon dioxide extinguisher, chemical extinguisher. Different varieties of the extinguisher are shown in the figure in this video as well. And then how you have to work over there. Instruction are also given on the extinguisher. You can see the protocols for the operating, and there are different instruction given. This is the pen. Person, first of all, remove the pen, and the second one, the aim, where target is there, the fire, and then sweeping. Use a bright safety pin. The instruction are also given on the fire extinguisher. It is 4 kg ABC powder, and use a bright remove safety pin. It was removed by the person working over there to suppress the fire. Aim nozzle at base of fire, and squeeze levers. Don't use outside temperature range. The temperature range is also over there. That's all about the fire extinguisher, and how to use a fire extinguisher in the area where the fire hazard occurs. Is detected by using the suitable alarm. Let's overview the today topic, that what we have discussed in this topic. First of all, title of the topic, that is fire hazard. Lecture number is 24. Brief overview of the topics of the fire hazard: production, sources, detection, prevention of fire hazard. First of all, I have defined the fire advertisement by fire. It is the self-sustaining process of rapid oxidation of fuel which produces heat and light, and it is exothermic chemical reactions between oxygen and fuel at certain temperature and specified temperature. And three things are essential, which are shown in this figure as well. You can see this one, that heat, fuel and oxygen are mandatory for the fire hazard. Oxygen at concentration about 23% in the air. The situation becomes dangerous due to increased fire hazard and temperature. These three things are mandatory for the combustion of fire. And then we have mentioned and detailed the sources of fire hazard in the workplace. The three main sources: solid fuels, liquid fuel and other sources. Solid fuels including wood, fabric, synthetic material, packing material, papers, etc. While liquid fuels including flammable liquid, for example nitrophenol, ammonium nitrate, and other volatile solvents used in the pharmaceutical industry during the testing or analysis of the raw material and finished product. For cotton or cellulose sold with the sulfuric acid, there is a chance of the fire hazard. And the chemical, solid fuels and liquid fuels. Apart from that, other sources including the flame or self-combustible chemical. After that, we have classified different types of fires and the different categories. And any fire will be including any one of the categories, and maybe one or more of the following categories: class A, class B, class C, class D and class K. Class K, I have told you about the class A fires involving the direct combustible materials, for example paper or textile fiber, where cooling, blanketing or wetting extinguishing agent is needed. The second class of fires, that is termed as class B, involving flammable liquids such as gasoline, oil-based paints and greases. Extinguisher for this type of fire include carbon dioxide extinguisher, dry chemical or powder extinguisher, and halogenated type of the fire extinguisher for controlling this type of fire. The class C, including fires involving energized electrical equipment used in the pharmaceutical industry. Different machines are installed, different electrical equipment are installed, and the fire capture due to involvement of these energized electrical equipment, where a non-conducting gaseous cleaning agents or smoothing agent is needed. The most common type of the extinguisher for this category is a carbon dioxide extinguisher. It may be controlled by any other extinguisher, but the most common type of extinguisher used for that purpose, that is the carbon dioxide extinguisher. Class D, including the combustible metals, involvement of these metals, including the magnesium metal, sodium metal, and potassium. Special dry powder extinguisher or dry chemical extinguishers are used for this class of fires and must be tailored to specific hazardous metal. And fifth type of the category, that is one of the fires, is class K fires involving commercial cooking appliances with vegetable oils, animal oil, fats at high temperature. When the oil is captured due to the involvement of these commercial cooking appliances with the vegetable oils exposure, animal oils or the fats, temperature is high. In this case, for the capturing of fire, as I have told you about the sources and the fire capturing due to the involvement of the three mandatory commodity and three things are mandatory. That is one of the things is high temperature. Avoid potassium acetate, low pH based agent is used for this class of fire. We also discussed the detection of fire hazard. That's how the fire hazard is detected in the pharmaceutical industry. Many automatic fire detection systems, different alarms and sensors are installed in the pharmaceutical industry for detection of the fire hazard nowadays in the pharmaceutical industry. But some of these including the thermal expansion detectors, heat sensitive insulation, photoelectric fire, ionization or radiation sensor, UV or ultraviolet or IR detector for detection of the fire hazard at the workplace. This sound an alarm in case of the fire. They will alarm through which fire flames are detected and the relevant area and proper action should be taken in order to control the fire hazard in the area where sensor have detected the fire flame by sound alarm. Also shown in the figure the different types of fire alarm. The prevention of fire hazard, different prevention measures, different steps for preventing the fire hazard, including well-planned design and layout, proper ventilation system, chemical data sheet should be consulted where different chemicals are used in the pharmaceutical industry, and one of the prominent cause of the fire hazard is the exposure of the chemical which is act as fuel, and the fuel and oxidation, and as you know in this figure, fuel, heat and oxygen are ready for the fire, and if we control and we handle the chemical, and chemical sheets are consulted, and in this case the fire hazard will be controlled. The chemical data sheets and instructions given on the chemical that should be adopted. Proper training of the personnel should be done to ensure the safety and to control the fire hazard. Different types of restriction or precautions should be taken to minimize the risk of the fire hazard. Use of fire extinguisher, alarm, sensors and detectors to prevent the fire hazard, and firefighting equipment should be kept over there in case of emergency. In case of the fire hazard, the sprinkler system should be also very far used in case of the fire hazard. Fire suppression. That we have discussed the fire suppression that is done by using the hydrant system, water sprinkler system and fire extinguisher. And the hydrant system include water sprinkler, semi-automatic hydrant system and automatic sprinkler. And apart from that, three manual hydrant systems are also used. That is, these are the hydrant system using for the fire suppression. While fire extinguishers are used in the pharmaceutical industries or any other industries or in home for controlling the fire hazard, the fire extinguishers are used or applied to control the fire hazard. The first one is water and water-based extinguisher. It is one of the category of one of the type of the fire extinguisher, including the portable extinguisher, soda acid extinguisher, antifreeze extinguisher. And the second category or type of the extinguisher that are termed as foam extinguishers. And the third class of the fire extinguisher is dry chemical extinguisher. Or dry, and in the case of the dry chemical, it is also termed as dry powder extinguisher. You can see the sprinkler system and powder fire extinguisher. Dealing with fire hazard, that's how we will deal the fire hazard in case of fire hazard. It is alarmed by your citizens and is detected by using the appropriate equipment. We should evacuate to the assembly area in case of fire hazard emergency, and we should use fire extinguisher or fire suppression equipment. Operating system for fire extinguisher, the following 4 steps are tried while operating the fire extinguisher. The first one is we must pull the pin. The second one is step is extinguisher force at the base of fire. Third one is squeeze the lever. And the fourth step, we should take an exercise that is sweep from side to side to control the fire. And I have also told you about the references consulted while preparing this lecture. That's all about the today lecture. Inshallah, we will discuss this topic in the online Google Meet session. So far, we have discussed the hazardous may be consulted in the paper, on this paper as well. You can consult the paper that is related to the hazard. It is already in the references. two paper. One of that is to the hazard. That is chemical hazard and safety management in the pharmaceutical industry. The title of the paper. The review article in the Journal of Policy Research. Different types of hazard. Different phase of chemical hazard. That is one of the hazard is catching fire. That is the chemical. I told you. Here they have mentioned that fire and gas system are highly sensitive and intelligent. They sense the flammable gas, material, or liquid spill in the early stage. Also detect the fire within the working environment and give audible and visual signals of the threat detected. This system can be activated automatically or manually.